Okay, the executive session of the Wayne Board of Education regular meeting of October 25th, 29 was convened in the conference room of the Wayne Board of Education, 50 Nellis Drive, Wayne, New Jersey, 07470. The statement of compliance setting forth time, date, and location was read in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, and the roll call was taken. The meeting was recessed and is now being reconvened. Can you please rise for the flag salute and a moment of silence, please? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Toback.
The new administrative summary, we're just here for a very limited number of items. If we do not have the resolution yet, Mr. Gipper, do we have that resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to read it?
Resolved that while the Board and Wayne Education Association continue negotiations, the Board approves a temporary agreement that the Board will pay Ida Ferranti on October 30th, 2019, and the WEA will pay the Board the WEA's first check on October 30th, 2019, the 9 days in October, and for the month of November, period.
Good. Okay. At this time, we're going to open to the public on agenda items only. This portion of the meeting is open to citizens for comment on agenda items only. Residents are to state their names, addresses, and subject matter. Comments may be limited to 5 minutes per person. Members of the public are discouraged from speaking negatively about an employee or a student. The Board bears no responsibility for comments made by the public. Comments regarding employees or students cannot be legally responded to by the Board. Other comments may be responded to tonight or at subsequent meetings under old business. Do I have a mover?
I'll move it. Second.
Okay.
Good evening, my name is Bill Brennan, and my address is 703 Brittany Drive in Wayne, New Jersey. And I'm here to talk about this resolution that was just passed. The gentleman that passed the resolution, my understanding, is employed by the law firm of Skorinsky and Hollenbach. And I want to talk about some of the facts surrounding that law firm and the type of behavior that's come from that law firm over the years. I want to go back to 2002 when a murderer by the name of Angelo Prisco was up for parole again, and Donald Skorinsky used political influence and committed fraud to have that murderer released from jail. A whistleblower reported an impropriety, filed a whistleblower lawsuit. The murderer was replaced in prison, finished his term, got out again, went on to murder someone else, and spent the rest of his life in jail. That was what Donald Skorinsky did some years ago. Thereafter, Donald Skorinsky, Ken Hollenbach, and Joe Ferriero, all partners at the firm where this gentleman works, they asked Mr. Robert Dakotas of Dakotas, Fitzpatrick, and Gluck in Teaneck, New Jersey to attend a meeting. And they claimed that they were representing Hartz Mountain, who wanted to compete for the Xanadu project, which became the American Dream Ball. And they said that they were going to use political influence to represent their client in a scorched earth litigation strategy unless Dakotas Fitzpatrick got their client to give them a $35,000 a month consulting fee, not for legal fees, but to hire them as consultants. Now, that was either disloyal to their client, Hartz Mountain, or dishonest, or both, but it was extortion. And Mr. Ferriero went to jail for that. So that wasn't the end of it. You have the case of Dr. Gangnam and Raji, where Joe Ferriero, who was a partner at Skorinsky and Hollenbach, took $500,000 for his influence to go to John Molinelli, a Bergen County prosecutor, and influenced John Molinelli into giving Mr. Raji pretrial intervention, even though he'd already gotten pretrial intervention, and he had criminally sexually assaulted over a dozen women and wasn't eligible for pretrial intervention. So I want to caution you if you're getting your ethics advice, if you're being told to foment litigation with people here who had an agreement with you, remember where it's coming from and what the source is. There is corruption from top to bottom in the state, from condo associations in Wayne that were built on corruption 20 years ago, to law firms here in Wayne that are representing the taxpayers in efforts to create litigation and have the taxpayers fight. Nobody came to you and said, make this union officer go to work. Nobody came to you and said, the union contract should be violated. Somebody who's doing that stands to gain financially from fomenting litigation between employers and employees who had an agreement. Now, I'm glad you resolved this, but I am concerned that somebody with a vested interest in seeing litigation go on and on and on, and breaking the union and busting the union in this town is going to get money from taxes that are paid from 703 Brittany Drive, Wayne, New Jersey. Because I don't think that's the appropriate way to go. I think that you should do something, anything and everything to improve your relationship with the unions that work for this community. Because a good employer-employee relationship solves a lot more problems than a good relationship with Skorinsky and Hollenbach. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. How you doing?
Mr. President, see nobody else from the public rise, I move to close.
I second.
Okay, Mr. Pavlik. And Ms. Pavlik. Okay. John, I think you're up with the doctrine.
Resolution of the Wayne Township Board of Education invoking the doctrine of necessity. Whereas the School Ethics Act, NJSA 18812-21, was enacted by the New Jersey State Legislature to ensure and preserve public confidence in school board members and school administrators, and to provide specific ethical standards to guide their conduct. And whereas questions arose regarding how a board should invoke the doctrine of necessity when a quorum of a Board of Education has conflicts of interest on a matter required to be voted upon. And whereas the School Ethics Commission provided guidance in Public Advisory Opinion 398, and whereas the opinion set forth that when it is necessary for a board to invoke the doctrine of necessity, the board should state publicly that it is doing so, the reason that such action is necessary, and the specific nature of the conflicts of interest. And whereas the School Ethics Commission by resolution dated February 25, 2003, clarified and required a Board of Education invoking the doctrine of necessity to adopt a resolution setting forth that they are invoking the doctrine, the reason for doing so, and the specific nature of the conflicts of interest. And whereas the School Ethics Commission further directed boards of education that invoke the doctrine to read the resolution at a regularly scheduled public meeting, post it where it posts public notice for 30 days, and provide the Commission with a copy. And whereas the Wayne Township Board of Education desires to settle disputes brought on behalf of the Wayne Education Association, and whereas the School Ethics Commission has issued advisory opinions in this matter, 8/10/17 and 8/28/18, identifying various conflicts, and whereas Donald Pavlak has a spouse, Barbara Pavlak, school social worker in the Wayne School District, who is a member of the NJEA, and whereas Mitchell Badner holds an administrative position as Director of Instruction for the Bergen County Special Services School District, and whereas Board Member Eileen Albanese received an endorsement from Community for Academic Excellence, a political action group for the WEA, and a campaign contribution for the November 2018 election. And whereas Vice President Stacy Scher is employed by the Passaic Board of Education as an NJEA member and received an endorsement from Community for Academic Excellence, a political action group for the WEA, and a campaign contribution for the November 2018 election. And whereas Board Member Suzanne Putup is a recent retiree of the WEA, has a son, Michael Putup, teacher, and daughter-in-law, Lima Putup, guidance counselor, were employed by the Passaic County Technical Institute and are NJEA members, and whereas Board Member Matthew Giordano is employed by the Bloomfield Board of Education, is an NJEA member, whereas the inability of the above 6 board members to participate in this process results in the lack of a quorum, And whereas in order to resolve disputes with the WEA and related matters, the board must have a quorum. And whereas the board desires to invoke the doctrine of necessity in accordance with the procedures established by the commission to resolve disputes with the WEA and related matters. Now therefore be it resolved by the Wayne Township Board of Education, County of Passaic, State of New Jersey as follows. 1, that the 6 board members as noted above are in conflict by nature of their endorsements, receipt of contributions, employment, and relatives' employment. And the board therefore invokes the doctrine of necessity to consider acting upon disputes brought about the WEA and related matters. 2, that this resolution shall be read at the public meeting of October 29, 2019, and shall be posted where the board posts public notices for 30 days. 3, that a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to the School Ethics Commission by the board secretary.
Thank you, John. Okay, so we're gonna move that item now that it's been read.
No,
It's that's the administrative item.
Administrative item number 1.
A.
Do I have a mover? Do I have a mover?
I'll move.
second.
Dennis and Mr. Giordano.
H.
It's H in the new system. Okay. Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Albanese,
Yes.
Mr. Badner,
Yes.
Mr. Duffy,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Mrs. Kazan.
Are we voting on the resolution?
No.
Not the doctrine resolution, the other resolution.
Not yet.
What did we just vote on, the doctrine?
The doctrine is
Okay,
first
fine.
up.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Kazan, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Pavlak,
Yes.
Mrs. Putup,
Yes.
Mrs. Shear,
Yes.
and Mr. Bubba.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, human resource items. J1.
I'll move.
Second.
Mrs. Kazan and Mr. Badman. Questions, comments? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Badner,
Yes.
Mr. Duffy,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Mrs. Kazan,
Yes.
Mr. Pavlak,
Yes.
Mrs. Putup,
Yes.
Mrs. Shear,
Yes.
Mrs. Albany,
Yes.
Mr. Bubba.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and school resources, legal, do I have a mover?
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Putup and Mr. Giordano. Questions?
Is that the resolution?
That's the resolution,
Thank you
yes.
very much.
And what is the number, just for the record? We're going
This
to
is
refer to
N.
it as.
N1?
M1. Okay, questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Duffy,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Abstain.
Mrs. Kazan,
Yes.
Mr. Pavlak,
Abstain.
Mrs. Putup,
Yes.
Mrs. Shear,
Yes.
Mrs. Albanese,
Yes.
Mr. Badner,
Yes.
and Mr. Bubba.
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Okay. Open to the public now for general comments. This portion of the meeting is open to citizens for comment on agenda items only. Residents will state their names, addresses, and subject matter. Comments may be limited to 5 minutes per person. Members of the public are discouraged from speaking negatively about an employee or a student. The board bears no responsibility for comments made by the public. Comments regarding employees or students cannot be legally responded to by the board. Other comments may be responded to tonight or at subsequent meetings under old business. Do I have a mover? Move.
Second.
Mr. Badner and Mrs. Albanese.
Sorry, I'm trying to write.
No pressure.
Eileen D'Amico, 29 Manor Drive. Good evening. I'm here tonight to raise concerns that I have regarding some of what transpired at the October 17th, 2019 board meeting, specifically surrounding the motion and vote to restore the president of the WEA to full-time release. First, let me be very clear. My concerns have absolutely nothing to do with the outcome of the vote itself. I don't pretend to understand all of the work that's involved with Ms. Ferrante's position, especially in a district of this size. So to me, if the needs of our teachers in the classrooms are best served, and thus, and most importantly to me as a parent, the needs of our children in those same classrooms are best served by not having her teaching, then so be it. As long as whatever is done in good faith, with honesty, and of course legally. And here's where my concerns come in. Not with the outcome of the vote, but with the abomination that was the last half hour or so of that meeting. A half hour which resulted in a motion and a vote that appears, I think, to have been at best premature and at worst illegal and also possibly unethical for some of you. And I'm not sure I understood fully tonight's resolution earlier, but it doesn't sound to me like anything has been resolved. My first issue is that it sounded to me like a majority of you 2 weeks ago completely ignored the recommendation of Dr. Toback as the superintendent of the district. My understanding is correct. As a result of that, 5 of you could potentially be brought up on ethics charges. If that should transpire, how does that not become a distraction for this board and get in the way of you continuing the business of helping to move our district forward in the best interest of all of our children? And if charges are brought, does it result in additional costs to the district? I don't know the answer to that. I hope it's no, because as taxpayers, none of us should have to foot that bill. I'm also concerned because you have the board attorney telling you that the motion and the vote was illegal, and yet 5 of you chose to completely ignore that. Look, I get it. I've worked in a corporate environment my entire career, and there's a lot of not so popular legal advice from the attorneys. And it's been my experience that they tend to err way on the side of caution, much to the frustration of those that they are advising. But what's really concerning to me most is that so many people, even those speaking from the podium, demanded that you ignore the advice of your attorney, apparently advice even given prior to the meeting that evening. I just wonder if those same people would hold to those same convictions if they were on the receiving end of the legal advice, if they were in a situation which put them at risk legally, if they were brought up on charges and needing to defend themselves. My guess is they might be singing a different tune. So my question is, why are some of you always so quick to ignore the legal advice being given? This isn't the first time that some of you have done that. I'm not saying the legalities are always pleasant, and they most certainly don't always feel good. But the board attorney's job is ultimately to protect you as the board, which in turn protects our district. With all due respect to Ms. Kazan, who made the motion 2 weeks ago, and to all of you who voted, when did any of you receive your law degree or pass the bar exam? If you're not going to at least give Mr. Geppert's advice the consideration and respect that it deserves, why have him here? Why are you paying him? Why are we paying him? Lastly, I'm really disappointed and disturbed by the political grandstanding that went on at that last meeting. I'm struggling to recall any issue in recent history where so many politicians not only attended, but spoke in favor one way or the other of the issue at hand. And it's no secret to some of us that at least a few of you have political aspirations that extend way beyond the Board of Ed. And that's my problem. Politics has absolutely no place on a Board of Education, and shame on those of you who have chosen this forum to help further your own political aspirations or personal agendas. I applaud those of you who asked to be fully informed at that meeting and who abstained when you didn't receive information that you felt you were missing. For those who acknowledged not being fully informed but voted anyway, how do you vote on something when you feel legitimately that you're missing information? For some of you, I'm not sure how you can be informed on much of anything when you've missed in excess of 30% of your meetings just in the last 18 months. Maybe you're watching the instant replay like the rest of us. Bottom line, if you can't look at each vote you make with a clear conscience, say that you voted what you truly believe to be in the best interest of the students in the district, regardless of whether it benefits you or not, then you're doing a tremendous disservice to our kids, and you're insulting those of us who trust you and who expect you to put those agendas aside when you're sitting up on that dais. To those of you who voted yes, my question tonight is this: what is the plan? What is the plan for paying Ms. Ferrante on a go-forward basis? If I remember correctly, Ms. Kazan's motion was to place her back on full-time release until such time as a sidebar could be negotiated and accepted by the applicable parties. And I may have misquoted that a little bit. Is there at this time a defined, agreed-upon plan? I have to ask because it certainly wouldn't be the first time some members of this board have voted something without a plan as to how to pay for it. If there is a plan, that's great. It better be in accordance with the law and not putting this district at financial risk. If there isn't, then I'm urging the 5 of you who voted yes to reconsider and rectify the mistake that you may have made at that last meeting. By all means, take the discussion back to negotiations and work in good faith and with respect on both sides to come to a decision in the best interest of our kids, the teachers, the district, and Ms. Ferrante herself. But do it within the legal framework that's been laid out, and please do it without the risks of ethics violations and further divisiveness to the board and to the community as a whole. Thank you.
Seeing no one, I move to close the public portion. Oh, sorry. Someone's moving? Oh, go ahead. I can't.
Sorry, Jen.
You didn't get a second anyways.
Whatever.
You're good.
Still an issue. Still what happens.
Even though it is not Halloween yet, I've noticed many stores start to decorate for the Christmas holiday. As I was walking through one the other day, I saw a t-shirt that said, "In a world full of Grinches, be a Griswold." It got me thinking, our teachers are like Griswolds. Not in the silly aspects, of course, but in what that movie taught us. Aside from being funny, that film taught us to put our differences aside, to put our kids first, and to work together to make the best out of what you have. What did the Grinch teach us? The Grinch had no heart, he played dirty, and he was only out to benefit himself. What did that get him? Who could the Grinch be in this scenario? Never mind. But to answer Ms. D'Amico, who I know is running for the board, we question what's being done too and the legal opinions that are being given. You know, maybe for billable hours. Anyway, why do we read The Grinch to our kids? We do it to teach them that being selfish, whether it's by keeping all of the Christmas presents for yourself or trying to make a name for yourself among the school board attorneys, whatever the case may be, being selfish gets you nowhere. Lying, cheating, and stealing is wrong. And in the end, good wins over evil. I would like each of you to question the motives of why and the motives of those giving you advice. Question why certain things and decisions are being done. Why has Ida been riced when a decision was not made? Why was she not riced when a decision was made? Why some people are calling it managerial prerogative in terms of personnel issues, but yet you need to vote on every single transfer that comes up? Why was the doctrine of necessity pulled from the last board meeting agenda without the board voting on it? Why are conflicted board members, and not conflicted for that matter, being told some pieces of information and not others? Please take a good, long, hard look at what's happening here. Look at why these things are happening, and look at what it is doing to the very people who teach, support, and protect our amazing students here in Wayne. Don't be like the Grinch. Have a heart and do what's right, because good will prevail.
Mr. President, see no one else, I move to close.
I'll second.
Yeah. Donna Mitch. Old business. New business?
I'd like to respond to some of the comments, if I could. To the young lady who came up and addressed us before. That's actually not the first time I've heard that. In 18 months, I've missed 30% of attendance here. You obviously don't know my personal life. I have 3 kids, all of the under the age of 5. It's tough. This is a volunteer job that I take on. Am I here for political gain? I'm not. I'm here, I joined this board, I was elected by the members of this community for full-day kindergarten and to do what's right for the kids of Wayne. That's what I did. It's funny that it's the second time I heard that. In my lifetime, I've been told that 30%, so 70% would be a passing grade. So I feel that I'm all right in that case. This is a volunteer job. I'd ask you that if you're going to come to the podium and speak with your heart, as I believe you did, then that you would respect the way I voted, because I voted with my heart. And that's all I have to say. But it's funny that I get the same term twice in one night. That's it, Mr. President. Floor is yours.
Anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion?